Palpatine has had a number of apprentices over his lifetime. He was good at spotting potential in other beings and twisting that for his own goals. Most of his students were intended to be nothing more than mere tools, but one of them escaped their fate in his clutches and became responsible for the creation of 3 of the most galaxy-changing Sith in history. Greetings, lore junkies and acolytes, and welcome back to the archives. In today's holocron, we are going to talk about Palpatine's secret apprentice, a fallen Jedi by the name of Vergere, a mysterious being that only shows up in the legacy material and leaves us with many more questions than she does answers. We will be attempting to explain her story, how she caused the fall of 2 extremely powerful Jedi, resulting in the galaxy suffering for years after. Notice that we did say attempt, because Vergere's story is shrouded in many layers of falsehood and misdirection. Vergere was known to use truth and lies as nothing more than tools for an end, so it's impossible to know exactly how much of her story is actually true and what she claims is legitimate. But now, let's journey into the web of mystery that is Vergere. Most of what we know about her origins comes from Lady Lumaya, a Sith lady that existed during the days of Luke Skywalker's Jedi Order. Lumaya would inform Jacen Solo the story of Vergere, but as usual, we have to take it with a grain of salt. Vergere and Lumaya were working together to warp Jacen to the dark side, and they were not above telling him half-truths and straight-up lies. According to Lumaya's account, Vergere was once a Jedi. This part we know to be true since the Jedi have records of Vergere's master and her service under the Jedi Order. Vergere is known as a Fosh, which was a humanoid avian species. As soon as she hatched, she was immediately inducted into the wider Jedi Order and trained by a Jedi master by the name of Thracia Cholim. Thracia was a Jedi consular with a strong relationship with the High Council. However, she harbored a deep secret that would one day catch up with her. Thracia was peculiar in that she only ever trained female Jedi, and she was obsessed with having as many Jedi children as possible all over the galaxy. She trained her Padawans to be self-reliant and strong, and few were as self-reliant as Vergere. In fact, Vergere seemed to take the training a little bit too far, and became fascinated with fallen Jedi. According to Lumaya, the study of rogue Jedi led her to tracing down one Count Dooku. Unlike the High Council, who didn't ask very many questions when Dooku departed, Vergere threw herself into a deep investigation. At the end of the trail, she found one Darth Sidious. Entertained by Vergere's persistence, Sidious took her as an apprentice at the point between the years 32 and 29 BBY. This is the part that we ourselves are a little skeptical about. Based on everything that we know, this should be an impossibility. For one thing, Sidious had covered his tracks with the intention of keeping the Jedi totally lost in a labyrinth forever. For Vergere to have unraveled all of that just by following Dooku seems highly unlikely. And another thing, Palpatine was already training Dooku by this point, or at least was getting ready to. And although he has been accustomed to breaking the rule of 2 before, he technically never did. Maul was a Sith assassin, and he was traded up for Dooku, later for Anakin. He never truly had more than one main apprentice at a time, so it's our belief that this is either a lie, or Sidious decided that Vergere had some usefulness to him. It is entirely possible that the training did take place in at least some capacity though. And finally, based on our own research, Sidious never mentions Vergere to anyone. This means that either she lied about being his apprentice and never met him, or she was kept a secret. The latter of these two is plausible, because the way the story goes, Vergere was a failure of an apprentice, something Sidious definitely wanted to cover up. The way the story shakes out, Vergere only trained under him very briefly, and the entire time she was still a part of the Jedi, playing the role of a double agent. But after she found out of the lengths of Palpatine's megalomania and what he was planning to do with the galaxy, she attempted to kill him. This of course failed, prompting her to quickly attempt to flee. Rather than tell the Jedi High Council of him or his plans though, Vergere accepted a mission to the world of Zonama Sekhet in the Unknown Regions, the only place in the galaxy that seemed to be beyond Sidious's reach. However, once there, she discovered her ultimate fate. Zonama Sekhet was a sentient planet that had become the adopted home of the extragalactic invaders known as the Yuuzhan Vong. For those unfamiliar, these were creatures that came outside of the known galaxy. The Vong species hated all things that had to do with technology, reviling it so much that everything from their ships to their weapons was organic. The Vong also despised the Force itself, because it had abandoned their people. They could not feel the Force, and the Force could not affect them. They had been in the galaxy for a while before their invasion in 25 ABY, using Zonama Sekhet as a scouting colony. Vergere spent time learning about their people and their ways, but she quickly discovered that they were a force far too powerful for the known galaxy. Vergere witnessed the power of their weapons and their ruthless intolerance. Realizing their plan for domination, Vergere saw that the Republic was not able to face such a powerful enemy, so she dazzled them with her Jedi powers, and she lied, telling them that she came from Zonama Sekhet rather than from the Force. She then struck a bargain with them. She would accompany them if they agreed to break off their initial invasion attack. The Vong actually agreed and left Sekhet for several decades, retreating deep into the unknown regions on their living warships. Over the next 50 years, Vergere lived with the Yuuzhan Vong, teaching them about the Republic and about the Jedi. All the while, she secretly built a collection of information about the extragalactic aliens themselves. She would destroy her lightsaber to hide any affiliation with the Jedi, which she knew the Vong hated. Vergere also learned how to hide her sensitivity from the Vong's force-detecting creatures known as Yamusks. She described it as making herself small, or rather, shrinking her signature in the Force. To us, of course, this lends credence to the fact that she did train with Sidious, since this is something that he excelled with and could have taught her very well. But due to her having to live in this state of making herself small, she learned to affect the Force in microscopic ways. Soon enough, Vergere was able to alter molecules themselves if she wished. Sometime after the Jedi Purge, the Yuuzhan Vong sent another scouting party to the galaxy in preparation for an invasion. Vergere was on their ships, which allowed her to meet the Jedi A'Sharad Het. The Jedi was the son of the legendary master Sharad Het, whom Vergere initially mistook as him. A'Sharad by now had survived the Purge, and had embraced his role as a Tusken warlord. But he had lost his arm in a duel with Ben Kenobi after threatening the Lars homestead. After being banished from Tatooine, Het became a bounty hunter until he crash-landed on the planet of Korriban. There, he learned the Sith ways from the spirit of Zozan, one of the first 12 Dark Jedi that began the Sith Order. He had intended to learn their secrets and to use them against Vader and Sidious. But when he emerged from the tombs of Korriban, the Galactic Civil War was over and Luke Skywalker had been triumphant. Now lost and without purpose, A'Sharad departed for the unknown in order to lose himself completely. And that is where he was captured by the Vong. The Vong tortured and experimented on him, implanting him with viruses and exchanging his cybernetic arm and one of his eyes with their organic technology. In between experiments, he was kept in the embrace of pain within their ship's dungeons, and it was here where Vergere would find him. Once again, her fascination with fallen Jedi returned, but this time she had a goal. Despite having once wanted to destroy Sidious, she considered herself an ally of all of the Sith way. So day after day, Vergere spoke with A'Sharad, pulling him deeper into the darkness. Vergere helped him reason out a mission for himself, and she was present when he took the name of Darth Krayt. He mentioned how he wanted to revitalize the Sith, but with a twist. In his words, power without purpose was meaningless, the galaxy was chaotic, and therefore order must be imposed. Vergere mentioned how the Vong scouting party uncovered a Jedi Order created by the son of Anakin Skywalker, but Krayt dismissed this. He believed that the Jedi could not succeed, only the Sith could, but that it had to be done in secret. Vergere seemed pleased by this. That wasn't until Krayt declared that he would not be following Bane's rule of two. In a mysterious twist, Vergere was incredibly loyal to Sith ideology, believing it to be the best way to secure hope for the galaxy. She thereafter abandoned Darth Krayt, disliking his plans for a new rule of one. Soon enough, Vergere made contact with the self-proclaimed Dark Lady of the Sith, Lumaya. Since the death of Sidious and Vader, Lumaya had been largely without a teacher, so Vergere would take on the mantle of her new master. The two found many Sith artifacts and holocrons, and learned from those while forming their own plan for a future. According to Lumaya, the two discussed possibilities for the creation of a new Dark Lord. Curiously, neither of them wanted to take the mantle. Lumaya was too weak in her cybernetic body and was much more adept at operating in the shadows. Her entire life, she had been an undercover agent, and she didn't intend on stopping what she was good at. Her previous plans to create a new Dark Lord had failed, with her own apprentice Karnor Jax and his death. Vergere had no interest in ruling the galaxy, but she did want the Sith to rule. The two of them believed that twisting one of the new Jedi was the best course of action. They sorted through their options and crossed off the Jedi that would not make the cut. Luke Skywalker, they said, was too dogmatic. Mara Jade was too attached to her family. Leia was too afraid of becoming like her father. Leia's daughter Jaina was too emotional. They considered Kip Duran, since he had delved in the dark side before as a student of Exar Kun, but they ruled him out too since he was too stubborn and unpredictable. But at last, they settled on one prime candidate, Jacen Solo. The two of them were aware that the one Sith were being created on Korriban, and apparently, according to them, Lumaya had been invited to join their order. However, it was likely due to ideological differences that Vergere and Lumaya never collaborated with Krayt's one Sith. They wanted to create the ultimate Dark Lord in line with the rule of two, and Jacen Solo had all the power and potential to defeat Krayt. They did not personally believe that the one Sith's long-term goals were attainable due to the rising power of Luke Skywalker and the Jedi Praxium. The two of them needed a Dark Lord that could rival or even exceed the power of Luke, so naturally, they needed someone from the Skywalker bloodline. Eventually, Vergere manipulated her way into the higher ranks of the Vong and executed their plan to capture the Solo twins. Of course, her goal was only Jacen, so that's who she took even though the Vong wanted them both. Just like with Asherad Het, she proceeded to torture Jacen, using the methods that the Vong had perfected. Through this torture, Jacen came to understand the ways and motive of his enemy, and he submitted to becoming Vergere's apprentice. She would pass on to him her unique philosophies and theories about the Force. She believed that it was the Sith that could return true order to the galaxy. She stressed to Jacen the concept that the Force itself is neutral, and that all malevolence came from the Force wielder using their abilities in the wrong or the selfish way. In doing so, she persuaded Jacen into compromising all of his morals, and seeded him with the curiosity to control the dark side. She further gained his trust by betraying the Vong, helping him sabotage their efforts to destroy Coruscant. Following this, the New Republic had Vergere imprisoned, as they didn't trust her in the slightest. She and Luke would actually meet on several occasions, and the two of them discussed the nature of the Force and the Vong. Her manipulation tactics were so excellent that she even began making Luke second-guess the Jedi's role in the war. In the end though, she was branded a spy, as she sabotaged one of the Republic's weapons to be used against the Vong. This further confused everyone on what Vergere's true motives really were. However, she had now fully gained Jacen's trust. Her end goal had nothing to do with either the Republic or the Vong, but rather they were now for the new Dark Lord, for Darth Caedus. She escaped the New Republic, and it was Jacen who would secretly help hide her away, all the while learning more about the Force. Ultimately, Vergere met her end when she decided to ensure Jacen's future. On Ebac 9, Jacen and his battle group were leading a raid against the enemy. But the Vong had developed an entire legion dedicated to hunting the Solo child specifically. Sensing that her apprentice was in danger, Vergere stole an A-Wing fighter and crashed it straight into the machinery that held the legion, obliterating all of the Vong in a single crash. She herself also perished in the kamikaze maneuver. Her sacrifice was likely to accomplish two tasks at once: to convince Jacen about the truth of her teachings, and to maintain the rule of two. Vergere had successfully planted the seeds of doubt and curiosity into the mind of Jacen, and soon enough, Lumaya would take over his training. When this occurred, Vergere knew that they would be breaking the rule of two, which she would not allow. She would rather eliminate herself from the equation altogether than break the ancient pure philosophy of Darth Bane. In the end, Vergere's plan was massively successful. Jacen Solo was gone, and now all that remained was Caedus. Vergere was brilliant. She created one of the most powerful Dark Lords in Sith history, sacrificing herself to achieve this goal. Vergere is a strange creature because she's driven by nothing but pure ideology. She is oddlessly selfless in the way that she submits herself to her own plan. She genuinely believes in the future of the galaxy rather than her own ends. We may say that perhaps she believed her own theories that the Force was neutral, and it depended on the intent of the wielder. She proved her belief through her actions, because though she was Sith, her actions were always for the progress of the galaxy and change in others. If she did learn under Sidious, and some evidence suggests that she did, what she learned from him was the art of manipulation. It seems that she disliked Palpatine's visions of a future though, as he always placed himself at the center of it all. It was not the Sith or the Jedi purge that she disagreed with, but Palpatine's megalomania. This is why she did not warn the Jedi Council, but decided to make her own plan instead. In the end, she had a hand in the creation of three of the most influential and powerful Sith Lords in the Legacy era: Darth Krayt, Lumaya, and Darth Caedus. All three of them were incredibly unique in their ideologies and reasons for following and embracing the Sith way. When we think of the dark side, we often think of large displays of power, crushing lightsaber duels, or cackling schemers. But Vergere is unique. She's unique because she represents a part of the dark side that is often hidden, its enigma. Yoda often speaks about how the dark side clouds everything. It makes things complicated and unclear. What may be quite apparent to us, who are the outsiders looking in, is completely obscured by those living through the dark side. The dark side does not just instigate, it confuses. It tortures people by running their minds through endless loops, causing spikes in anxiety and rash decision making. If Vader is the might of the dark side, and Sidious is its pure, unfiltered evil, then Vergere is its deception. Every time she interacts with someone, she ties their brain in so many knots with truth and lies that her words begin to sound reasonable. On the surface, she's actually a much gentler soul than many Sith. But beneath it all, she is just as dangerous, if not more so. Not necessarily because of what she can do, but because of what she can create. As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. May the Force be with you, and have an excellent day.